Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smart Women Talk. I'm Katana Abbott, and I'm thrilled you are here. We are now in the heart of the holiday season, and we're counting down the days. It's time for parties, family, and fun, right? But did you ever feel like there's just too much to do, and no matter how hard you try, you can never get ahead? Maybe you're already overwhelmed and now you have to add 10 more things to your to-do list. What if there was a way to stay calm during the holiday season and really enjoy the experience? Sound good? Because get ready. I've called in the expert to help us do just that. I've invited clarity expert Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity to join us today. Debbie is the author of Clarity: How Smart Professionals Create Career Success. She's a keynote speaker and a leadership coach, and she is also a returning guest because every time she comes, she just wows everybody. So today she's going to help us avoid what she calls toxic productivity. We're going to learn how to zero in on what's really important, and we're going to learn how to create more time. Debbie, welcome to Smart Women Talk. We are so thrilled to have you here today to talk about this idea of how do we come to calm when there's all this chaos? Because as women, it seems like we get the worst end of the stick, right? Do you agree?
I totally and completely agree. And that's why it is just such a treat to be here and to share whatever tips, tools, and techniques that I can to help people get out of that just chaos that comes in the holidays and really find more that peaceful sense of calm, which is really what the holidays are all about.
Yeah, right now we're right in the heart of it. Women really get the brunt of this, as I mentioned. Why is that? And what are some of the things that are happening when women are being faced with all this? Because we're in charge of the parties. We do most of the shopping, right? And then we have to keep everything moving forward for everybody. So it is. And then if we're working, we have all these year-end goals we're supposed to hit too.
I know. Do you remember the old perfume commercial, the Anjali? I could bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan. And it was just about the multitasking woman. And I think that what it comes down to is two things, Katana. Why is that? And it's either by choice or by chance. And there really are no other options. We either choose to go in this direction, to take these things on, whether that is intentionally or unintentionally. There's still a choice there because no action is still an action. All the isms that swirl around this particular topic is that we teach people how to treat us. And so by allowing things to continue and not interrupt that pattern, then that's an action. That's a choice. When I say by chance is just the things that we happen into, maybe for the first time, that we think, oh, it won't be that bad. I can take that on. Yeah, that's not that much. I can do that as well. And incrementally, it's just building up. But I think that generally, women are the multitaskers. We're good at that, even though it's not multitasking. It's multi-focusing, which is not terribly productive, but we're good at multitasking, multiple conversations in the car at the same time. We are the nurturers. We are the caregivers. And it seems for the holiday, primarily in the past to the present, it's fallen on women, right? We have been the ones, again, generally, I'm not going to lay a massive label across it, but we're the ones who go out and get the presents and then wrap the presents and then ship the presents. And if you send out cards, I cannot even believe what a lunatic I was when I was in corporate and working full time before I left and I started my own business. I have this oven in my kitchen that has 6 racks, and I would bake dozens and dozens of cookies. I don't want to eat all those cookies, but I would still do it because it's what I'd done in the past. There comes an inflection point where you have, and you are permitted, I am giving you permission if you're listening to this, to stop and just really take stock of where you are right now. I have a phrase that I share with my audiences sometimes when they've fallen into an unconscious habit, and it's catch it, challenge it, change it. Catch it is, especially in this holiday season, working full time, taking care of family, doing the holidays on top of that, and whatever else that might mean at work, goals and holiday celebrations there. Anytime you stop and you just catch it and say, okay, wait a minute. You put a pin in it, you put a pause in it, that is a win. Even something as small as that is a win. And once you've done that, then you can challenge it. And I've got lots of ways to challenge things, but at a high level, it is examining the behavior that's going on. It's examining where you're at and why you're feeling this way, because there's a feeling that goes along with this. When you talk about stress and overwhelm, we feel it. Mm-hmm. And that is a sign from our unconscious to say, woohoo, wait a minute. This is not what you want. This is not the direction that you want to go in. And so that feeling is a sign that comes up to remind us, right? So we have an opportunity to challenge it and say, okay, is this really what I want? Or is all of this really what I want? Are there pieces of it that I want and other pieces I don't? Do I want none of it? Do I want to start over from scratch? Do I want to just piece out this holiday season and have everybody else figure it out? But challenge it. Invest your conscious energy into it instead of letting it happen by chance. And then the third piece is to change it. What do you want to have happen different? If this isn't what you want, then spend a little time to figure out what is it that you do want. So at a high level, that's what that is. And that's not just a strategy for holidays. That is anytime throughout your career, your leadership, your life, your business. When you find yourself in that place where you are swamped, you are overwhelmed, you are feeling burnt out, catch it, challenge it, change it.
That is so beautiful. Let's actually put an example, because I think one of the things that happens is this is all about traditions. It's how it's always been, right? We put up 3 Christmas trees. That's how it's all. I always make the cookies and bring them to work, right? And there's this pressure either from expectations of maybe our elderly relatives who we want to say, I'm going to carry on the tradition. It might be friends. You're going to have a party and people are expecting a certain thing. Let's talk about a real life situation where we could actually apply this.
Let's
and I
go.
think people remember catch, challenge, and change. What's something you've seen or you maybe would love to use as an example?
Yeah, it is. And especially as you come into the holidays and sometimes how we pick up things and how we come to do things is we've assumed them. And it's not anybody else's expectations. It's our own expectations. And for some reason, when we hold all of this in our head, it's as if we didn't do a piece of it, the world would just crumble. When in reality, that would be the case if you gave yourself the chance to think it through or even talk it through with someone. So let's take, for instance, someone who's in a high growth or a high performance sort of career. Maybe they're in marketing and there's campaigns, or they're in sales and there's year-end goals. For instance, I just ordered a car, right? And this gal was on top of it. She just really had her stuff together. And so let's say we peered into the window of her world, and she grew up like I did, or maybe like you did, and she's got family. And at this point in our lives, right, it's not our parents who are hosting these things. they still may be the matriarch or patriarch of the family, but the duties and responsibilities have likely dribbled down a generation. And that's my role. And it is hosting the family gatherings. It is organizing all the holiday events, and it's still doing sales for my business. So let's say that this is the gal, Nicole, that I bought my car from. And she's still got to go because she's got year-end goals. It's not just the normal, it is the additional. And what happens is that there are likely pieces of this that we don't need to keep carrying. But what happens is we think that we need to keep it all together. We need to keep our hands around everything, and then we need to bring on more. And that's where we get into trouble. Because what we do normally is a lot. We have a lot going on in our lives. And this is interesting. It's one of the things that I do with my audiences is I have them all raise a fist. And I say, okay, I'm going to say a series of statements. And if you personally agree with a statement, each time you do, you raise a finger. So they track with me, and I'll say, we'll keep it easy. How many of you work full time? And the finger goes up. How many of you have aging parents, and maybe you're part of that sandwich generation and your parents need a little bit of care, or maybe they need a lot? Fingers go up. How many of you have small children? Fingers go up. How many of you have an adult child in the home, also known as a spouse or significant other or partner? Fingers go up, right? How many of you give your time and talents to things? Think about it, Katana. The things that we pour our energy into because they're meaningful for us. And that is another thing with women. Our heart can lead us sometimes. And then we say yes to things because we don't know how to say no. And it's important to us. So fingers go up there. And then it's on top of all of that. How many of you are wrestling with something heavy? Death, divorce, disease, and more fingers go up. Right? There is not a 0 or a 1 to be found in the room. And I say, stop and look around the room. We think it's just us who has a lot going on, that are on the edge of not being able to keep it together. But frankly, it's all of us. And if you take that experiment, I'm doing that in rooms of 500 people or more, extrapolate that out into the rest. Yeah. We have so much going on. And so employing strategies that can help you really figure out what is most important. Anytime you are adding something else onto your plate, you really have to recalibrate. Things cannot stay the same. For instance, an example from my own life. Last 2 Decembers ago. So it was December 2021 going into the new year of 2022, right? So we're just coming out of COVID a little bit, and I speak professionally. I travel all over the country and speak at conferences, and the live events were just starting to come back. And I thought, okay, my husband and I are going to Florida. We're going to be able to go out with friends and go to restaurants and go do things. And I was so excited. And 2 days after New Year's, I get a call from my son, and he says, Mom, Michelle is sick and I need you to come home. So Michelle is my daughter-in-law's mother, and she had cancer. And she was the caretaker for our grandson. So he's like, we need help. Okay, that's all hands on deck. I am recalibrating everything because that's now at the top of the food chain, right? So I have to figure out what was most important, and I did. I pulled everything out of my business that I could while still keeping the doors open, and had the best year of my business. So God provides. The divine is just really parental. But you have to make those choices. You can't keep it all up. You have to decide. And sometimes it's not an easy decision. Sometimes the decision's taken out of your hand. Maybe somebody here listening has just gotten a diagnosis, and that's all that's in their mind going into the holidays. So you have to, and that's part of the process, catch it, challenge it, figure out what is most important, what you're going to recalibrate, what you're going to keep, and what you've got to let go of, and just trust that it'll be okay. And then make those changes.
When I'm just thinking, one of the biggest things we can all do is just to be kind, because when you were talking about holding up the fingers, and if someone doesn't smile back, they're rude, maybe working in the store or whatever, or just anything that comes up, to really, embrace what that story you just told about everybody holding up their fingers. We're all going through things, but we all are still in this whole season. We all want to show up as our best, and we're all going through pain. So let's talk about how to handle the guilt, maybe, or saying no. Because you wrote a beautiful article in our newsletter this month, and it was about saying no, this idea of boundaries. Mm-hmm. But saying no also comes with guilt quite often.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Or disappointment for others.
Yeah. So again, there's a feeling that comes with it. So when you are feeling guilty, and there's a kinesthetic feeling that goes with it, you're thinking you're feeling guilty, and that feeling is coming up. It's not serving you. It's the indicator, again, from the unconscious about, whoa, wait a minute. This is not the direction that you want to go, because thoughts lead into feelings, and feelings lead into behaviors. It's a sign that this is not the direction you want to go into. So that the guilt is something that you just have to process and let go. When you say be kind, absolutely be kind to yourself first.
Okay.
Because we say things to ourselves that we would never say to another human being, in our thoughts or in our words. Just keeping that in mind, the kind that starts with you first. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the things that you have to make decisions about, getting to a place where you've got boundaries and you can say no, first, you have to figure out what's really important to you. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that, again, I find with my audiences and my clients is that we are chasing some version of success. We're on social media, everything's Instagram worthy and HGTV and the whole thing. And we have social media telling us how we should be happy, what we should be. We have well-meaning, maybe friends and family chiming in, and movies and magazines, the whole bit. But we're the ones who get to decide. So when I work with leaders and I work with people developing in their career, trying to find their next, it's like, what is your version of success? Because if you don't know what it is, then you're just chasing absolutely everything. So let's apply that to the holidays. If you're going to make an educated no, if you're going to enforce a strategic boundary, one that you've set with intention, then you have to know what's important. So I've got a process that I call it the way forward to more time. And this blends both personal and professional. So here's the strategy. And I do this for myself each week. First step is to do a brain dump. Get everything out of your head that you can think of. Personal, professional, doesn't matter. Put it on a piece of paper. Get a glass of wine and set a timer for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or a cup of coffee or whatever the case may be. I like to do it on Sunday or early Monday morning. And I just let my mind empty out. Because when we don't do that, it is the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. that we wake up thinking of all this stuff. Because our unconscious is constantly surveying the landscape to try to say, okay, what am I missing? What's the danger? What can be forgotten? And you're in that trying to remember. So getting into this process, making it a habit, do the brain dump, everything, personal, professional. The next thing that you do is that you go through this list. And if there's anything that's got a hard due date on it, then you put a due date on it. Even if it's my husband's birthday is December 30th, there's a hard due date to get his gift and to get his card, right? Even though that's personal and may have some big things going on at business, I can't let that slip through the cracks. So if you put a date on it, you go through the list, you put a date on it, anything that has a hard due date, and then you put it in your calendar so you won't forget. Already that's saying to your mind, it's been taken care of. You don't need to wait until 2:00, right? Anything that is left over is a soft due date. Maybe it doesn't have a specific due date. It's something that you're working on. What's a project? You take that portion of the list and you divide it into 3 segments. You create 3 buckets. The first bucket is the critical, high priority. I've got to focus on this. This is really important. The second bucket is it's important. It's just not as important as the first bucket. And then the third bucket is whatever's left over, whatever you don't want to forget, you just put a pin in it. Now, here's the key to this part of the process. You have to divide what is left over equally into the 3 buckets, because as high performing women, high performing professionals, we're going to want to put everything in the critical, important bucket, the A bucket, and want to get it done yesterday. We heap that on ourselves. This forces you to decide what you're going to put where. It forces you to prioritize what you have on your plate. So already that's making some space. At the end of this, I do a little game. And the game is, and this is one of my favorite strategies for the holidays, do it or delegate it. Either
I
you
love it. I knew you were going to do that because that's so important. Thank you.
Yeah. You have to be the one to do it.
Yes.
Maybe they offer gift wrapping at the store. Let them wrap it. Maybe you can do send out cards instead of handwritten cards. Great. Maybe you can have your kids fold the laundry. It won't look like you wanted to, but who cares? One of the things when I'm traveling, especially if I'm going out, if I'm home and I'm going out in the community for an event, my husband was raised around the dinner table and family meals are very important to him. And I'll be walking out the door and he'll say, "Are you going to be home for dinner? What are we having for dinner?" And I say, "Whatever you can make or pick up is just fine with me." And then I'm out the door. So can you send out the dry cleaning? Can you do Instacart for groceries? And I'm not saying this is a permanent way of life. I'm saying let's help somebody out, namely yourself, and get through the holidays. So if you can pick these up, yes, there is a cost with convenience, but if it's a short period of time just to get you through between now and the end of the year, then that price on your sanity is priceless. Finding ways, getting creative about how you can game the system and get out of anything that you can that you've got on your list, only leaving the things that you absolutely positively have to do.
And not being perfect and allowing others to help.
Yeah.
Because just because you've always done it yourself, maybe you're 15 years older now and you have, like you said, the parents, you have more responsibility. And so allowing others. And how about it doesn't have to always be perfect?
Yep.
If the kids
oftentimes
help you, pardon?
Nobody will know.
Yeah. No, but if the kids help you wrap, for example, not things for them, but if you, then you're teaching them something too. My mom was great at delegating, maybe too good. But I learned a lot. I used to stand on a chair and help her with the dishes and put them in the cupboard by standing on a chair. But I'm so glad she did teach me all that. And my kids, not so much. I wasn't so good at teaching them to delegate, though. I wasn't so good at delegating to them. But I think giving ourselves permission to do that. How about just giving ourselves permission for the self-care and the delegating during that time to keep ourselves healthy and sane?
And here's a piece of it. Also, there's a whole premise of work-life balance, and I hate that term because the reason is balance is a lie. linguistics, words matter. And linguistically speaking, when you say work-life balance, essentially what you're saying is that everything has to be balanced, and they're all in these very specific identical increments. They're not all equally weighted. And we just passed my favorite meal to prepare, which is Thanksgiving. I deck out the table. It is grandma's china, grandma's silver. It is just the whole, I just love cooking that meal. And in my kitchen, I have a big 6-burner dual fuel range. And when I'm cooking that meal, they're all going, right? But they're not all on high, and not everything is on the front burner. If you are someone who thinks that everything's got to be on high, things are going to burn. Something's going to become a disaster. I speak from experience. I was in a hurry, high burners, 22 people at my house. It was a mess. So I've learned. That was 1999. But the other thing is that not everything comes on the front burner. When you're cooking a meal like that, you've got to intentionally bring things up when they need to be there. And then you put something on the back burner, right? But you don't turn it off. It doesn't get cold. You put a low flame under it and you just keep an eye on it. And life is the same way. When it comes to work, when it comes to the holidays, what are the 3 things that you want to focus on? And no more than 3. 3 is doable, as long as you're not trying to shove everything into one category and call it one thing. If you're realistic about it, 3 is very doable. It's not overwhelming. Yeah. Understanding from a holiday perspective, what are the 3 things that are the most important to you when it comes to the holidays? For me, I would say that it is Christmas Eve. All my family is here. It is decorating the house because that brings me joy. And it is just the friends we get to see, just the other holiday stuff. It's not even the parties. But the 3 things to me are about family and gathering and the things that bring me joy, the music, which I started playing last week. My husband's already, I'm like, yeah. What are the things that are the most important to you? And then not losing sight of those. If I don't get the Christmas cards out this year, nobody's gonna call me angry because they didn't get their card. But we do that to ourselves. So get clear about the holidays. What are the 3 most important things to you about the holidays? And be very specific. Clarity comes when we're specific. And then the same thing with work. What are the 3 things that at work that you need to focus on? And then just juggle the burners accordingly. You're finding the integration between those 2. And it's very specific. Yes, there might be things that you'd like to do, but hey, let's look at January for those.
Yeah. Oh, this has just been so rich. And what's so wonderful about having you here, Debbie, is that we don't end the show in overwhelm. It is so simple. You have brought clarity to the holidays. I think we can remember this. So 3 things. And I loved the thing with the brain dump and the due dates, the hard due. See, I think we can all do that just to simplify and to bring focus, and maybe sharing with others too, so that they understand.
Because otherwise what happens is we keep everything, regardless, in our head and think we need to get it all done.
Yeah.
And because we're vague with that language about how we think about it. But when you actually get it out of your head onto a piece of paper and you go through that process, it starts to take the pressure off, because you see where you've got some latitude. You see where you can gamify it and delegate it to someone else. You can see that, okay, that's something I want to do, but during the holidays, that's not realistic. I'm going to enforce a boundary and say no.
And those boundaries will free up time for self-care and for, something that just happens to come up.
Exactly. I got a massage on Fridays.
Yeah. Oh, I have one scheduled too on Friday.
Good job.
Yes. So all your tips are going to be able to be universal. We can use them all year long.
Yes. And actually, if anybody would like, I've got a worksheet that goes with the system that I gave you for the time. If anybody would like the worksheet, it explains how to do it. I'd be happy to send that to you if you want to attach it, or you can email me at debbiepetersonspeaks.com and I'll be happy to share it.
I love your list. I love
thank you so much.
Yeah, weekly.
And that is, I generate content every single week because when I travel, I hear what people are up against. And then I want to provide a solution, something that they can consider just to get them unstuck and moving in the direction that they want to go. So going to my website, which is debbiepetersonspeaks.com. It's got links to everything, to the book, to the podcast, to the YouTube channel, to the articles, just to my speaking topics, consulting, the whole bit. So it's all there at debbiepetersonspeaks.com.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful having you here. You have a wonderful holiday, and I wish everyone who's watching or listening to enjoy this holiday season, to be calm and to follow these tips. And please, if you love the show, be sure to subscribe and to like the channel and share it. You can do that so easily nowadays. It makes it fun. And until our next show, everyone, go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.